Any changes to the agenda?
The only thing, Denny, Tim Jones from Green Mountain Power, he is meeting in Jamaica at 7, and then he is going to be coming here, and I told him that was fine. That we would talk to him when he does get here.
That's what I would say, let's
Okay,
put on when he arrives. In the meantime,
public comment? Public comment? No?
no, he's
I'm happy.
All right,
volunteer.
oh, he's happy. Review the minutes.
Oh, yeah,
So I just have the last meeting minutes, because I have not heard back from Merrill about the specific changes and the wording for the executive session, if I,
Oh, the meeting
Right.
was
Yeah.
prior, the April meeting, yeah,
correct.
okay,
So it's just, feels like we're just current up to date meeting minutes.
okay.
First one's the liquor control minutes.
so I'm allowed to move approval.
Second,
Discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Leah,
Oh,
she is
yeah.
from the middle school board.
Right. I'm wondering, I usually, the person who hasn't been in attendance usually doesn't sign the minutes, but I think you could.
Town of Washington's regular select board minutes.
Move we approve the minutes of May 13th, 2025.
Second. Is there any corrections or additions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, number 4, Mr. Jones is gonna be late, so we'll move on to number 5, Western Fire Department. What you got, Leo?
All right, one of the things we wanted to do over the course of the future is to have at least 2 meetings with you, just to give you updates as to what we're about, to hear anything that you want to bring to our attention, just to promote more dialogue. I mean, that's something that I think has been missing for a while, and it'd be good just to have that happening as we move forward. And these are just the things that we've been involved with, and it's good for you to be aware of it. Our FEMA money is finally expected to be arriving within 3 weeks. It was an arduous task. The red tape was insane. The goalposts were moved in multiple directions at different times. I applaud Mitch. All right, he did a great job plowing through that relentlessly. And he singled out Shauna, and he said that, anytime he called and he had questions for you, he was just very impressed with the way you handled it and the way you responded. So I thought it'd be a nice shout out for you to have right now. Our 4-inch hose has been received. Oh, yes.
Sorry, how much is that?
It's gonna be in the neighborhood of, I don't know the exact number, but I know it's supposed to be above 30,000.
Yeah, I somehow had
I thought it was like
38,000.
38, and again, we're just holding our breath to see what eventually does come down the pipe.
And this is money that you've already spent in repair of your building, right? So this is
It's-
reimbursement for
It's
you.
reimbursement, and it's a crazy system that they have, that you have to spend it when you don't have the money, which is just absurd.
Mhm.
So,
Just a word of warning, Leo,
I'm listening.
keep meticulous records because I think it was about 2018. We got a bill from FEMA for $1,500 because they claimed they overpaid us.
Oh,
So they would do, go back and go through, so unless you feel like Annie up if they do that to you.
They don't have any employees left to check over these.
it's true.
Well, I'm just saying what happened to the town.
No, that's good advice. Yeah, we'll make sure there's a good paper trail all the way through. Yeah, that's set up. Our 4-inch hose that, it's a thank you to the town, but that has arrived and it's been loaded. And it's heavy as hell, but it's all in there and the old stuff is out. And so we're up to date as far as the 4-inch hoses. We did a measured flow rate of water that we could draft from the 2 main dry hydrants for this town. That's by this fire station and the one right over here by the bridge. And we wanted to make sure we had that down pat. So, and we were able to get 400 gallons of water per minute. Now, that may not mean anything to you, but Jennifer Probst is making sure that the engineers who promised that we would have the same capabilities going forward, that they have those numbers. So we made sure we got those numbers, they were calibrated, and so we're good to go on that one. So
Is that 400 at each station?
at each one.
So the one is
They were able
just
to-
downstairs, downstream of the bridge here?
They were able to get 400 gallons per minute. And if I'm wrong with that number, because I'm pretty sure that's what they said, I would get back to you pretty quickly.
Does that depend on the flow in the river?
Well, there's a lot of factors involved. So if they're talking about the river going down a certain amount, that could create a problem.
Yeah,
And so
yeah.
that's where it's catch-22. And so
But I'm just thinking about even the summertime, the river's lower than it is
but we,
now.
it'll be lower, but we could still draft from it.
Okay.
The problem is if things change dramatically and there isn't enough water there, those are the two main sources that we have.
Mhm.
So that would be quite tragic if those sources dried up.
Mhm.
Because then it leaves us into quite the dilemma in terms of trying to find other sources that we can get to quickly, but the town really relies on those two. I mean, those are centrally located here.
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
When the measured flow rate has been done before for the dry hydrants, what is it usually at? Is it less than 400?
No, it's what we could draft out, so the water's down there,
Right.
whether it's high or low, as long as there's water there, but we could get that much water on a successful draft.
Good.
Alright. Then the community risk assessment group, they continue to assist people, and it's whenever someone calls and says, look, that was the push that we made. If, you need a smoke detector, you want some, we'll go down there. And Fred Probst has been leading that. He's been excellent in terms of the follow through on that. Fred, Jennifer, and Kevin Gill and his son, they responded to the Playhouse Safety Day. All right, and that was just, of all times, they had it on Memorial Day. But they have a Safety Day staff training. So they had about 30 people there, staff individuals. And they went down, they brought the engine down, and they gave their spiel, they explained everything. But since most of the staff that come are more urban
I'm
tours.
sorry, this is, you mean the
Playhouse.
theater company or the
Yes.
Playhouse? Because the
Well-
Playhouse is the building owned by the Community Association,
Okay,
and the theater company occupies Walker and owns the property and has the actors come in.
theater company, I mean, I
Okay.
use those
I-
interchangeably, but.
Yeah.
but
A lot
thank
of
you-
people
thank
do,
you
and
for
it's-
keeping me on my toes.
Yeah.
throughout
No,
this
no,
whole thing.
A lot of people are confused about that, and I'm a little bit of a pain in the ass about it, because it's important that we get that distinction right.
Sure, And it's a data company. All right, so they went through certain things that, you know, urban dwellers are not aware of. For instance, 911 calls are not gonna be nearly as fast,
Hmm.
all right, in this environment. And they went through meticulously describing how many minutes it takes to get the call in, how many minutes it takes to get this, how many minutes it takes to get the call out to us, how many minutes it takes us to get to the station, how many minutes it gets from the station to wherever the crisis is. So what they were really impressing upon them is you do not wait, you know, you move immediately and quickly. They went through causes of fire, smoke detectors, fire extinguishers, all of that stuff. The department made a welcome to them. They said, "Well, welcome to the town," and even coaxed them or invited them, I'm not exactly sure, to attend bingo that night. And about a dozen showed up, so that was,
That's great.
these are the positive things in terms of community reinforcement. And then the last item I have is the roof. So I know next week was scheduled, Shauna mentioned that to me, and
I got an email this morning that weather dependent, the roofers are hoping for Wednesday, possibly Thursday or Friday. So
Okay.
they were going to reach out to me by Monday, hopefully with a definite date.
okay, we discussed this as a department, and so the rigs will be out of the building, but they will be located nearby.
Okay.
The roofers will be informed that they cannot have any vehicle or anything on the side that has the dry hydrant. In the event of emergency, we still need access to that.
Okay.
And so we're preparing, and then we have a meeting on, training on Thursday, so we'll be able to just finalize all that, and since they'll know that, the roofers are on their way. I mean, and that's another thank you to the town. So that's all I have. Do you have any questions?
Thank you for your
Great.
service.
Yeah, we just wanna, again, keep the dialogue going as much as we possibly can.
Yeah, did you say a couple times a year, or, cause it seems to me it might,
We would like to, you know,
Every
like
2
twice a
months.
year. Well, 2 months, if,
I mean, it just,
it would be good. Probably be 3 months.
yeah, well, okay, 4 times a year, but
But we will make it a
Yeah.
point, just like today, it's just a quick informative thing, what's going
Exactly.
on. If you have questions, or if you see things that you're concerned about, it would be worthwhile, again, to just build up that dialogue. That's what we really wanna have, as much
Yeah.
as possible.
that's really good.
Fred, thank you very much.
Fred,
Leo.
Leo.
Oh, sorry, Leo. Fred, who's Fred?
take care.
Yeah, Fred Probst.
Oh.
Yeah,
I
that's,
see, that's a, yeah.
Take care.
Thanks, Leo.
Bye, Leo.
Hi, Leo.
Mm.
So now we go down to number 6, Lowell School grant, floors and painting.
Well, either that,
well,
we have Tim
got,
Jones here.
We got Tim and,
Oh, it came in early.
yeah.
Okay, we'll be back to that.
We weren't sure
Yeah.
last time.
You get here from
He
Jamaica.
said he's coming from Jamaica, so we're not sure.
Okay.
Thank you for being here for a long time.
Yes, thank you, Tim Jones, Green Mountain Power Program Manager, and met the board a number of times last year, and with me tonight is Carol Weston, who's VP and part of our leadership team. He's been out on a tour with me as we canvass our customer towns and continue on our zero outage initiative that we started here last year with getting the town's permission for our Weston and Londonderry project. And so we thought it'd be a great opportunity tonight to just come in. We're going in parallel right now, so the project obviously has begun in earnest. We have line workers, we have our tree crews out there, and we're also getting to the undergrounding segments along Route 100 there with all Adams equipment out there as well. So just wanted to come back and say again, thank you for the town's partnership for signing on to that project, and we'll be getting into those side roads here as the summer progresses. But right now we're taking on a new customer here at the bakery, which is why we're getting going here in the village, and hopefully by the end of June we'll be moving south on 100 and continuing the overhead work and finishing up all of our undergrounding as well. So I would take an opportunity just to get any feedback from the town, how things are going. We stayed off the roads over the long weekend. Part of that's, our state highway permit. We did not bother trying to extend that for the weekend. I know it was a busy time through here, so they'll be back at it tomorrow.
I have a question. I thought it was kind of an unwritten policy to leave the wildlife trees intact and not destroy them.
Did we take something
There's,
from somewhere, apples, or do we?
yeah, there's 3, 4 apple trees missing along Route 100 down through there.
Is there any, like, right out of town, or is it just?
Well, where they're burying the power.
Okay, it was on private property, probably we had permission from the landowner
Right up where they're burying the power.
on the other side of the wall.
They took an apple tree down in my property, but I gave them permission to do that.
There's some up above, they just,
On Dean's place, right?
Oh,
We'll have a look, I think you're bringing up, we haven't heard any complaints from any of our customers that we taken outside of what we said we would, but certainly we'll have a look, see at that.
I would say that the Adams construction, whatever they're, Adams has been very helpful. I mean, I am a proper, they buried lines along my field and they were terrific and very accommodating to questions I had, and similarly to the guys who were cutting, because you're raising the lines, right? So you have to take some, they also were terrific in answering questions, because I didn't know what the heck they were doing on the edge of my property. But they were very helpful. So can I ask you a question? That those buried lines are to take the place of the lines that are in the right of way further east on 100?
Correct, so it's a rebuild of the main line, which currently runs mostly cross-country.
Yeah.
Coming up from Londonderry, so our intent was to move the line to the road. Some folks are amenable to having us rebuild overhead along the road, and the customers that aren't is typically what you'll see sort of an underground dip, if you will, or we'll bury it across the face of their property at their request, if we need an easement from them, so that kind of is a bartered outcome, I guess you could say.
Oh, so you're not trying to bury the lines?
In this instance, we have been burying quite a bit of our lines down in the Townsend Wardsboro area, certainly part of the calling card, and we will have some buried segments out on Boynton and some of the other back roads where we're doing some crossings, but the intent along Route 100 was to be mostly overhead. But there's probably about a mile's worth of underground out of the 6 miles of the project. Some of it was existing that we're replacing, some of it's just new. Folks don't wanna see the line come from behind their house to the front.
Has Xfinity and help me,
Fidium?
well, Fidium, but the cable
Consolidated.
companies and Consolidated, our landline's been out for a week, and actually it was kind of nice. And I found out that it was working when Denny called me this morning. Our landline rang, which is just amazing. But have they started work on that, or because our thing went out 8 days ago, and they said, oh yeah, well, we're gonna send a technician by your house to fix it on the 27th. And so instantaneous response, today being the 27th, 8 days later. And they told us to wait around the house from 8 o'clock in the morning until 7 o'clock at night, because
Cable guy.
and then Denny called, so I'm just wondering, are they working on it, or is it possible that you guys are to blame, or that I should be thanking you for my respite for a week?
Yeah, so that's probably not us, but just in the phasing of the construction, communications would be last after we rebuild everything.
Okay.
And completely transfer our conductors,
Yeah,
then we'll initiate.
so they sit on the old poles, you transfer the power lines up to the higher poles, and then,
And they'll just transfer, so if you notice how close the old poles are to the new ones,
Yeah.
so the first thing you'll see happening here is once our lines rebuilt, you can see the block and tackle up, so we're actually getting ready to pull wire. So once that's all done, when we take our conductor down, the poles will actually probably get cut right at that top communication line, and then you'll see them side by each, and then we'll notify them, and then that's when we'll get them on the schedule to come and just reattach, and then the old pole comes out.
yeah,
What's the
And you-
timeline on that?
It's sometimes it's taken some years to get them fully completely off, so we're doing everything we can to entice them, covering their pole line. If we're going underground, we're putting duct in the ground, so we're working operationally, and then we have some of our leadership working in Montpelier as well to make that a reality. It's a piece of feedback we get everywhere.
I have a question.
Yes.
Hi, I'm Katie.
Hi,
Good
nice to meet
Saturday.
you.
I'm new to the select board. So you're working up where you are right now, but now you're gonna start working on where the bakery is. How long, what is the, timeline? I just don't know what the timeline is.
6 months total.
Okay.
So once we're past the bakery, then we'll be on Route 100 all the way to Londonderry. So
Right.
we'll be working roadside. So once we get out of here, the bakery's gonna be ready in the middle of June. So I would expect by the end of June, after July 4th, we should be out of the village and moving down 100. Expect to be in service in the fall.
Anything else? Anybody got questions on?
No, they were actually really great in front of my property too. They they weren't sure if they were trying to drill to put the new pole in, but they had to bring the excavator, whatever. So, they were knocking on the door and having great conversations. And I saw them doing the same with my neighbors. So that was great.
Well, thank you for that feedback. We do have a third party out there representing us. Qualis is their name. They're our construction manager. So obviously we have 3 different contractors out there at work. We have Adams, we have Sargent that's doing the line work, and we have Lucas that's doing our tree work. But we do have a construction manager out there. So I'm out there frequently, but we do have somebody out there day to day, and they're the ones that are catching those customer contacts, door knockers, whatever we need in the field.
Wallace, Adams, and
Sargent is the line work company.
And Lucas is the tree
Lucas
guy.
Tree.
okay.
Appreciate the feedback, positive. Of course, is always nice. And thank you,
Yeah.
Sean.
No problem.
I'm good.
Yeah,
Thank
you know
you.
where to find me if anything, we'll keep checking in here in terms of as we build out we're just gonna keep the hammer down on Route 100.
Great.
Are those your stakes down at the corner of Boynton Road and Route 100?
Yes,
What's going in there?
we are cutting, I think, I'd have to go look at those stakes there, but probably poles where we're spanning the road, because that's where the line kind of goes in, out across the soccer field. So I think that's where we're trying to bring that in and get rid of that 3-phase out there, and then just serve the customers out there single phase. Good transition.
Thank you.
Great.
All right,
Thank you.
thanks a lot.
Thank you.
You're rushing off to another meeting now?
No, that's it.
Last one.
All right. Enjoy your dinner. You already had it.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Now we can go number 6, Little School.
Yeah. Hey, everybody, can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Yes.
How is everyone doing? I think I maybe haven't had a chance to meet some of the new select board members, but I'm Leah McKenna. I'm the board president for the Little School, so representing the Little School tonight, also a resident in town. But the last few conversations we've had have been building related, and just sort of future planning around that. For folks, I think everybody has the documentation that I had brought forward a couple of months ago around the window restoration opportunity. So that's what I wanted to come back and circle back with the group tonight on, just for some of the background
that's
for.
this?
Do y'all have
So
it?
I had to look up what a sash was.
Oh,
I
you
was
must
reading the
not
whole thing, and I
have,
was like, they're like, we'll take the sash, and I was like, oh, it's a frame.
yeah.
That's what that is. And so it turns out that this company, I'm sorry.
Go ahead. I mean, if you have questions, by all means, but I just for like the quick context, we had applied for and received a pretty unique grant around historic building restoration. And the scope of the work was just for the front-facing historic wooden windows in the annex building where the little school is, to have those restored and in proper working order, and looking very nice from the street. So that's the scope of work. Like I said, we were awarded the grant. The last time we had chatted, I think the guidance from the group was sort of continue to move forward with paperwork, and we'll sort of discuss funding at a later date. So I am here to update you all that we have continued to keep up with our paperwork. There's a manual in there that has sort of multiple gates that we have to go through: contractors, insurance, getting bids. We actually did the bulk of that prior to submitting for the grant, but we've been providing that documentation to the state organization along the way. So we're fully up to date, but there is a sort of bigger milestone coming up at the end of June, whereby we would actually sort of sign off with the Historic Preservation Department that we're going to move forward with the work, and that they're going to provide 50% of the funding for that. The total funding was like just shy of 26,000. So the responsibility of us would be around 13,000. So there's been no contracts signed, no money exchanged, but we're getting close to that point of actually having to let our contractor know if we're going to move forward or not.
I have just a quick question. Actually, no, I don't. I'm sorry.
Now
do
that you
have
know
a
what a sash is.
I do have a question. You said you got prices and stuff. And my understanding, the environment for pricing is a changing thing day to day. Is the contractor guaranteed holding the price, or what's happening on that end?
No.
At this point, the bid that we did get at the end of last year is the bid. There is some language within there around if there are, as anybody could expect, if there are unexpected other repairs that might need to happen, those would not be, there was like a little bit of wiggle room for that, but they are standing by their original bid from the end of last
It says
year.
right here, it says right here, replacement costs for missing or broken hardware, including weights, pulleys, locks, lifts, milling of new elements, sash parts, frame parts. Even if severely damaged, price is supplied and accepted by customer before moving forward.
Yeah. We had actually
Additional pieces, right?
Oh,
We had
additional
actually
pieces.
discussed that language in our last meeting together. The assessment from the professional was, he's like, I have accounted for in my proposal everything that I can see, right? So a lot of those elements have been considered. Just any other surprises that weren't visible to him before taking the windows out.
So this is supposed to be done in a set of 3 different spots, like right for what, like the replacing. So it's gonna be like during the break of little school, like on a vacation, and then before the camp starts. Like, when is this?
So it's actually a pretty long process. You know, they can't do it in the course of a week. So what they do is put a piece of plexi, you know, depending on, right, to your point, if it's during summer camp, we maybe have some more flexibility on that. Typically what they'll do is either put plexi or just use the storm windows that are in the window right now as the prime window. So they would just take out the wood window behind the storm. And then if we need something else on top of that, he would do that. But there shouldn't be sort of an impact to operations, if that's your question.
So 25,000 is the grant. And then you talked about an additional, did you say 13 or 15 that's needed, or?
Sorry, the total cost of the project is 26,000. The grant covers 50% of what, they'll match whatever we spend. So if
Oh,
it's
okay, gotcha.
26,000, they will reimburse us for half of that.
Okay, and then the other half?
The town pays.
The
The
town
town.
pays for.
So is
That's
that
what we're
already been
just,
approved from
that's
this
what we're
group,
here
or-
to discuss.
Okay, sorry, I wasn't sure if that had already been done or where you were on that. Okay, got it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Sorry.
So I have a question though, so the idea was that you would use the actual storm windows that are there instead of having to pay for the extra exorbitant cost of doing vinyl sheeting. Right?
That's
When doing
correct.
this? Okay, cool.
Yes, and he assessed the storm windows to be a perfectly fine option for us. They're in good shape. So we can use those.
So just to keep things rolling along, I'm gonna move that we approve spending up to, let's give us some wiggle room, $15,000 on our 50% match of the window project.
I second that.
Further discussion? All those in
Bill?
favor?
Aye.
So you got only one bid came in.
We got, we had to solicit at a minimum of 3 already.
But only one came in.
That was the lowest bid and also the only person who could fit us in. But also the lowest bid.
They got 3 bids, but.
They got
this is
3,
lost.
okay.
Okay.
Got it.
Okay.
It's Kim.
Hi, Kim.
Yeah.
I just wanted to let you know that in the special fund for the annex maintenance fund has a balance as of year end of 22,175. We generally budget another 4,000 to be added, so that would give you a little over 26,000. And then I'm assuming that's where you would want it to come out of, and then it would get reimbursed with the repayment from the grant.
That's correct. The only other question that we had was, I know that there's a painting plan. And I think that there was a bid outstanding for one of the sides of the building to be painted. I don't know if that's a separate fund or if it's all
It
just
is
in
a
one
separate
annex fund.
No, it's a separate fund, and there's 25 grand plus another 4 in the painting.
In the
fund.
paint fund,
Right.
okay.
Right.
And do you have an outstanding bid, Leah? Because I've advertised and sent things to people and no one has gotten back to me.
Oh, no, I had thought that you had a bid already.
I wish. I
Okay,
mean,
okay.
I'm trying.
Okay, all right.
We are working on it.
We are, yes,
Okay.
that is.
Okay. And then we get to pick our favorite side of which we want painted.
We'll just be doing, it will be the side by the Weston's door and the back, because the last time it was painted was the front and
Okay.
the playground side.
Okay.
Kim, I didn't understand. There's money, 22,000 some money in the annex maintenance fund, and what's the $4,000 you were talking about?
For the painting
So-
fund.
Every year we budget an addition to keep building those funds so they aren't completely wiped out. So this year's budget is $4,000 to put into both the painting fund as well as the maintenance fund for the annex. And that's just our standard. I'm double checking it, but yeah, both of those funds get another $4,000 this year.
And the reason that they're not in there right now is because we don't have any taxes that have come in yet, right?
Correct.
Okay, great, thank you.
Right. Sure.
It's like when we give money away in the spring to all these different organizations, they don't get paid until taxes come in. We don't borrow money to give away money.
Okay,
Got it.
makes sense.
Great,
So,
okay,
so there's clearly money for the window project.
We can cover the initial bill and then when they get the grant money, we put it back in the fund.
Yep, okay.
that sounds good. Last little school item, we had also unfortunately only gotten one bid back for the flooring situation. It was very high. So I would just love some guidance or ideas that the select board might have on addressing the flooring issue. If you want us to come back with partial, right? Like we had gotten a quote for the entire building to be refinished and fixed. I know some of the newer board members might not be aware, but there are some areas where there are bumps, like there's caution tape, where there's some unsafe flooring situations. So at some point we need to start addressing, at least in a piecemeal fashion, and are open to guidance. I know this has been like a multi-year conversation, so any ideas would be appreciated on how we address the floors as well.
Leah, could you be, I'm Linda Sarnioki. I've met you before in regard to the library projects, but new to the select board, I don't know anything about the floor in the little school. Can you be a little more specific about what the issues are there?
Happy to. And this, the floor saga predates me as well, so I think some other members might be able to fill in some gaps. We for many years have needed floor refinishing. They're in pretty rough shape. It's not original wood flooring, but it's old. There have been some areas where the floor has buckled, probably due to a lot of the moisture in the basement and, movement of boards and whatnot. So I know that there's been multiple folks going over, trying to assess, trying to think of ideas of how to, there's the safety issue in and of itself with buckled floors. But then two, it's just the cosmetic piece as well as them being pretty run down. So we've tried to come up with a couple of different options over the years of one, trying to get anybody to respond to a request for a bid, which has been a challenge in and of itself. And then, like I said, the one we most recently got is extremely high to restore the entire building. So we're open to how do we move forward? Do we address the room that's in the worst shape and is the most of a safety tripping hazard issue, and go from there? There's certainly cheaper, maybe less cosmetically appealing options we could go down as well, but it's also not our owned building, so want to make sure that we get guidance from the owners.
I stopped by the school today, and it's the Rainbow Room, right? Apple, sorry. I get all those rooms mixed up, but I was, and what's happened is, in my view, the floors got redone at some point and had new floorboards put in, and they look like narrow-ish, not as narrow as these are oak floors, but they look like maple to me, and they're about 3 inches, I don't know, whatever that is. And I think that they were put in kind of dry and maybe in the winter. So I think what happens is they are swelling up, and there's just not enough width in the building, and they just crown up over a period of sorry, that I'm talking sine waves here, over a width of about 2 feet or 1.5 feet. And they lift up between, sort of an inch and two, which is, quite a bit.
Substantial.
And my first thought, and I expected, when I talked to the teacher in the Apple room, she said, oh, it's worse in the winter than it is in the summer, which surprised me because I thought that there would be more moisture in the air in the summer than in the winter. So that sort of throws my theory out of the window, but I still have this feeling that if we got it would be worth seeing if we can get a carpenter to come in there with a skill saw and just run down a couple of those boards and just
Make room.
make room. Yeah, just cut out, an eighth of an inch between a couple of boards and that would let them lay down and then re-nailing them to the subfloor and see what happens. Cause that's a hundreds of dollars job rather than, tens of thousands of jobs. And granted, the 100,000 is for the whole building.
And it's replacing it with wood floors. I didn't look at that too closely. I'm assuming. Yeah.
It was replacing it with flooring that would be historically relevant to an 1800 schoolhouse, right? So it's not like vinyl plank flooring, right? It's like, I don't know if they would use oak or what have you, but like nice wood flooring.
But I think that, the wood flooring that's there is, it needs to be refinished, but, I would say it's perfectly nice if we can get those bumps out of it. And if we can find somebody who would be willing to come in and take a crack at that.
That's been our challenge for a couple years, is getting somebody to agree to do that. And certainly like we can try to get somebody in again to give a professional assessment of like, yes, we can try to do this, right? Like, I'm sure they are not going to guarantee that it's going to work, but if we want to authorize them to give it a try with a saw and see what happens, I guess the downside of that, right, is getting into a situation where, and maybe that's what we need to be prepared for, is like, if they open it up with a saw and can't fix it, like, then we're going down the path of replacing the floors in that room on a timeline that works for a school year, right? So
but it's pennies on the dollar to learn this lesson, and if it doesn't work, it doesn't work, and we won't have, if what I'm thinking about happens, adding another eighth of an inch between two boards is not gonna,
Although Leo, didn't you just say you've tried to get somebody to come in and do that and you haven't been able to find anybody?
We have tried to get somebody to even give us a quote to do something that is just more in the repair, like just try to make it safe category. And we haven't gotten anybody to give us $1 yet.
Well, you're in the same boat as everybody else. To get a small job done now, it's pretty near impossible. I've got two guys who've committed to fix the pillars in front of the building here, but with all the rainy weather, the weather and stuff, they're not going to open up something and rain every day. I mean,
right?
They want to be able to come in one day and rip it apart and put your stuff in, be out, but everybody's behind.
I have a question.
Go ahead.
Sorry, now just let's little like a background. So this flooring project, it's buckling because the basement, the foundation is moist, it has a lot of moisture in it.
It's a dirt foundation.
Oh, it's a dirt foundation.
It's dirt floor, and we spent a lot of money putting in new support posts downstairs.
Okay.
And
And there's a membrane on top of that dirt floor and
Okay,
dehumidifiers down
Oh,
there.
there is, okay.
As
Okay,
well,
that's why I was
we
just curious.
spent,
I was like, what is it?
Yeah, we
Talking
spent,
about spending all this
tens
money
of
on doing the
thousands
floor,
on that,
if we're gonna do
yeah.
all this floor,
It's
is
just
it just
gonna
gonna
happen
buckle
again.
again?
Yeah, right.
So that's the, but I just see to say, but maybe not. Uh, my house that I live in, it didn't have a foundation when we bought it. My grandfather got a crane, raised it, built a foundation under it. I don't know how that worked, but my house is a historical monument. And he was able to do that. I don't know if that's like, we're talking about like taking a bid that's kind of like for, astronomical. I know the floors are a priority, but is it just like kind of like a patch on something that has a low, like a kind of a more of a deeper root? And that's just a thought that I had listening.
Sorry.
Sorry.
Yeah, I think to Jim's point, like there's been investments to try to make it so that isn't the case moving forward in terms of mitigating dampness. Obviously, at certain times of year, particularly now, that's difficult, but there are dehumidifiers, there's a vapor barrier. Like I think they've taken the right investments to make sure that wouldn't happen again. But that doesn't solve for, right, like what the current state is. It's not going to fix itself.
Right.
Okay, so we need to figure out how to, we or you or somebody needs to figure out how to get somebody in there to assess it, see if that sawing, if there's some way to do that. So how do we find somebody to do that?
You call Peter, yeah.
Well,
I'll
also
call
the
a couple guys I know and have them stop, see Sean, if you
Well,
go over and get them through the door and see if they're interested.
if you're looking at like, where are they outsourcing the lumber from? Like, it has to be, it's historical lumber, right? Like,
I
is it-
know, we're,
doesn't have to be.
We don't know
We're
yet.
not
Oh, you
talking
don't-
about replacing the lumber.
we're
No,
not,
just-
no replacement
You would
on
just-
board.
In the context of that, right?
Even having somebody who
I
could
guess I was just
say,
looking at that the thing of the amount of it, and I was like, what's going on?
Yeah, right.
So.
And that wasn't the whole building.
right, to have a
Thanks for
professional
answering my
say that
questions on
it's
that.
like worth trying the fix, is willing to do the fix, and then if the fix doesn't work, that floor in that room needs to be put back together so we can have school, right?
Yeah,
So it's just having the right backup.
I'm with that
yeah,
concern. I
necessity,
see- I
it's
hear
a
you, yeah.
necessity.
Yeah.
All right, thanks, Leah.
Okay. Well, thank you for the time. We'll see you guys.
Yeah,
There's one thing that I batted around to Jim, and I think the others when they were here, but their lease renewals coming up in 27. And I floated the idea that maybe the town could give them like a 99-year lease to the building. And Jim said we would still continue to fund the paint fund and what we're funding right now. But they would take all responsibilities of keeping the building up to speed and be their building. And they do what they wanted with it as long as we kept it in good shape, and we'd keep the insurance on it somehow and do that. But it seems like there's always a want list there. And maybe if they actually had a long-term lease on it, they could apply for different grants and stuff. And if we're gonna run down that road, we're middle way through 25, maybe it's time to start thinking about it and broach the idea with them and start working on it, because I'm not sure exactly when in 27
I thought September, but I could double check.
But is the Would grants be available to them to fix the building if it's still a municipal building? Because we would still be the town is still the owner of the building. So would grants be available to them, or would they be still grants that would be made to the town?
That's a good question.
And then,
Well, this is all stuff we have to find out.
you know, I
Yeah.
understand that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So there's
I
a
think
question
that's
we
a-
would have to
yeah.
ask. I would also be a little concerned, I mean, I don't know, I mean, because it's such an old building and it's historic. And there's this historic district we're looking at. I think we need to be careful about, again, I'm not, just another question we should ask is what effect that would have on the, you know, whatever maintenance can be done on the building. Because clearly the window issue was, you know, that has to be historic and whatever.
Well, one of the problems they have over there is they're not, it appears to me that they're not willing to give and like combine two classrooms while somebody does something to another room. All the work they want done over there is always when they're on vacation or closed.
Yeah,
So that makes it hard for a contractor to even want to think about working for them.
Yeah.
You know, I'm just pointing that out that,
Mm.
yeah. So it's give and take, and
Mhm.
it's just something to think about. And as we get closer, think about it, and maybe we can have a conversation with them, but just something I floated out there. Just another one of my weird ideas. Left, yeah.
No,
So here's another question that I have. My understanding about the library is that, and I don't know if it's a formal agreement or an informal agreement, but that the library budget takes care of maintaining the interior of the building, and the town takes care of maintaining the exterior of the building. Is that right?
Mm, I thought their budget took care of what they needed to take care of.
The whole thing?
I would have to think more about that, but that's a town building.
It's a
in
municipal
the end.
building,
It's a
yeah.
municipal building, the town
Right.
owns it.
I mean, it don't really make a difference who takes care of it. It's all town tax money.
Well, it's not all town tax. I mean, the library raises money and gets grants as the little school does. So yes, of course, there's a town appropriation that could be put toward the maintenance, or the town appropriation could be, I mean, it's a bottom line kind of thing. It can, whatever you use the town appropriation for, it's part of the library's responsibility. Yeah. So I don't know. Okay. Food for thought.
Yeah,
All very good questions.
Number 7, audit.
I don't have any.
There's another one right here.
Oh,
Oh, I'm sorry, Jimmy, there's a company name in that box. You wanna
Does
check?
anybody else need?
Yeah, I
one?
can check. I'll take it.
Look at this at all.
All right.
You want more time, Jim?
I,
I haven't looked at this.
you, is there a,
I got that before.
We
Did
got
we
it
have
last
For
week.
the
We got it 2
previous
weeks
meeting.
ago.
We got
Oh,
it
and
at
we
meeting.
postponed it.
oh,
We
postponed
postponed
it.
it
That's
to
why I have it at
today.
home. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah, and
If you want more time, say so, Jim. We'll just put it in.
yeah, I certainly would, yeah.
All right, we're gonna table that, Jim, because Jim hasn't up to speed on.
And I think there's more than just this. You sent us 3 different.
I have it all,
Yeah,
I have it all right
documents.
here.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but I'm just saying that that the rest is, Jim
you got
should be in
more
your
than that?
mailbox.
Yeah. Let me just.
Yeah, I can print it out.
Think about it.
It might be. I can give it to you tomorrow too. Kim sent in another email this morning for today with it.
My mailbox is getting crushed by the ceiling load from Denny Benson's mailbox.
Oh my God, look at that, yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
But it seems like Linda said there's a lot of paper in this job.
Seems like she
that's
did, yeah.
Yeah.
There is a lot.
That's hilarious.
Okay, number 8, I have to put on there. We've all heard the furnace downstairs rumble, and with the previous members here, we've debated about what to do and this and that, and I grant you, the heat pumps do work to a certain degree. I'm not sure. Not 100% for them myself, but I think we've got to do something, get headed down the road one way or the other. Because here we are, the 1st of June. Downstairs living on borrowed time.
Do
The furnace.
we, is there something in our budget for, as I recall, we had like 20 some odd thousand in the budget for,
Correct, we have 22,000 in the space planning and management fund. And again, it often gets another appropriation at the end of the year. And this year it's $3,000.
So this means that we put out bids to have the furnace replaced, or they just,
Well-
or have heat pumps.
We could do two or three different things. One, we could replace a hot air oil furnace down there. 2, we could explore the possibility of a gas furnace. I know when the Rodden's place get their gas furnace up there, it was about $6,500 to replace that furnace. And you could replace the furnace downstairs and still do the heat pumps. And I can't find it, but I read an article about the cleaning of heat pumps. And this article went into very much detail. And they say to properly clean a heat pump, it takes 6 hours.
okay, so. Cleaning heat pumps, gas furnace, or what was the third one?
Well,
Oil, sorry.
Replace the oil burner.
Replace oil, okay.
And if we do, I mean, if we're going to replace the furnace, seems to me that if you just replace the unit that's down there that runs on oil, that would be the cheapest thing, because I don't know, could we put a high pressure propane tank down in the basement there?
no, you'd have to bolt it down like the one for the generator.
Yeah,
Outside.
and that, I mean, that's a whole different level of complexity. And if you just put a new oil burner in, you know,
Right.
it just gets hooked in, and I would guess that'd be like a $5,000-6,000 number, do you think, Denny?
Well, why don't we do this? Broken the ice on this project. Why don't we ask Shauna to get a price from 2 or 3 different people about a new hot air furnace for our next select board.
Right.
And then we'll have a little more, know what we're talking about as far as money, and we
Yeah,
won't be guessing and stuff.
Right,
yeah.
Can those same people give us the price for gas? No, they couldn't. That would be
The-
separate.
the-
He's gas heads out.
I think, you know,
You-
by the time
you
you
think
have gas, you're gonna
Running
need
lines and
a
everything.
500-gallon propane tank.
Yes, yes.
And you're gonna have to build a concrete pad somewhere
Yep,
here, and
yep.
it's gotta be chained down because the water
Floats them.
floats them, and it does not float well.
Because of the location.
Okay.
Okay.
So just the
You know,
furnace.
it's legal to put
Just the furnace.
an oil tank in the basement, but not gas.
Right, not gas for sure. I know that, yes.
The other yo-yos.
Could I ask that we, because it seems to me that at some point we might want to get a quote or advice or something about heat pump too.
Yeah,
So why don't we do that at the same time?
absolutely,
Good
yeah, I
idea.
agree. And
have all the information.
Yeah.
I mean, this is. We have heat pumps and an oil burner in our house, and we have he just put a new heat pump in. To air condition a part of the house that, but also to heat it. And they are, the newer heat pumps used to be that with the price of oil and the price of electricity, that the heat pumps were cheaper to run down to like 18, 19 degrees Fahrenheit. And when it got colder than that, they could still heat your house, but it cost more than oil. And now it's down in the single digits with the new heat pumps because they just have better compressors and they're just more efficient.
Temperature, single digits.
Temperature,
Right.
single digits yeah. But
I just
you know,
think it's worth, I think it's
yeah,
worth looking
absolutely.
into.
We gotta have, I
Yeah.
think, what I'm saying is getting around to saying is that I think having a combination of an oil burner, I mean, you wouldn't go into it and install that from the get-go, but we've got an oil
Since it's
burner, it's
there,
gonna
yeah.
be cheap to put a new oil burner in, which will last us for a very long time. And then getting heat pumps on top of that takes care of all the air conditioning in the building. And also, most of the time would heat the building just fine.
Kim has a question.
Yeah.
So, I appreciate you talking about the air conditioning because paper and humidity don't mix.
Right.
And the window, air conditioners that we've used in the past have either died or been haphazardly working. There was some information that I thought Annie had brought to you. She'd had somebody go through the building last year and give her information on heat pumps. And I think ultimately they were more expensive. And I don't know that everybody was thrilled with that. But that report should be around somewhere.
Yep, I have it.
Okay.
I think it would
don't
be
know if
worth
it's
it.
still the same,
Yeah.
but-
Kim, that's helpful. I think it would be worthwhile updating that. I also think that, I had another thought and I've forgotten it already. I just think it makes sense.
Yeah, you
Looking
look
into
at,
it,
I think, can I put words in your mouth?
please, because
It would be great for us to look at what they produced last year and also to get a new quote.
Right.
yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
Are there still rebates? There were rebates for a long
Thank
time.
you. That was my
I
thought.
thought you might be going there. There were rebates for a long time for the, what I call split units, but these heat pumps.
Yeah.
Is that still happening? Does the Vermont still
I
have
don't
them?
know.
Vermont
I
had
don't
some pretty
know.
strong rebates on that. I don't know.
And I
if
would
that's-
think it, maybe even, I'm sorry to interrupt.
No, that's
I was
it.
gonna say maybe even available because this is a municipal building and maybe
Yeah,
there's,
yeah, yeah,
maybe
yeah.
the government's interested in helping us out.
But basically what Jim's saying is you do the hot air furnace, then you do the heat pump with the air conditioning, because they want the air conditioning for the paperwork and all that stuff, so. You're gonna end up doing both of them eventually, but if we start doing something now, we might get one of the two units in by winter, because you hear how this one down here grumbles.
Yeah, right.
No, but I agree, for
Absolutely.
$5 or $6 grand, it would be silly not to, just do that. and
Yeah,
then set both.
absolutely. And
Um,
it will be a miracle if we can get heat pumps put in before the end,
Oh, yeah.
before heating season starts. So
So,
if that furnace craps out, we're gonna be in, DevCon 3, so
yeah,
let's
yeah.
get it, yeah.
okay, so we'll have that hopefully for next meeting. My next item on the agenda is Greendale Road Bridge. Jeff brought this up to my attention. It's the first bridge off of Route 100. Stop and look at the railings. The town had it repaired. I'm gonna say 15 years ago, it's in the ballpark. Last year, I guess Jeff had an engineer look at it. And the bridge was built in the 30s. And there's cement railings on both sides. And the first one on the left, the end block is broke off, it's tipping pretty good. And the engineer suggested to Jeff that you go in and you shave the railings all off level. And then you go down around and tie into, the railings are tied into the bottom somehow. And tie into them, put up new wooden railings.
Hmm.
Or something like that, and he said, take care of the bridge because it's gonna be real expensive to fix it or replace it when it has to be. And so which route do we go? Do we spend a bunch of money on an engineer or do we get two or three construction outfits that do that kind of work, come in and based on my recommendations that Jeff's got, say, this is what, get it written down. This is what's been recommended for us to do. What can you do for us?
What would, if we just turn Jeff loose on it, does he have a preference?
No. No,
And he talked to this engineer last year,
yeah,
okay. And was after the flood?
yeah,
Okay,
yeah, he had the guy around doing a lot of stuff and they took a brief look at it.
okay.
So there might be some other possibilities besides what the engineer recommended.
But that would require more money, right? Possibly.
Well, yeah, Jeff thought pretty much of this engineer. I can't even remember his name. He told me at once, but I'm not good at remembering names, I'll be honest.
I'm Linda.
But,
Susan.
it's just one of these maintenance things that's coming along and, maybe if we get started on it now, we can get something done for winter. I'm sure it can survive another winter, but
Yeah.
if we don't get it done for winter, it can be on the agenda for 26.
So it would be like those big wooden, like railings. That like
Yeah,
be on it.
that have several posts in it,
Yeah.
but that bridge gets a lot of truck traffic simply because of the town garage being there.
Mhm.
And so it needs taken care of.
Mhm.
So.
My sort of intuition is that if Jeff thinks a lot of this engineer. And he would, the guy took just a quick look at it in passing. Maybe if you could ask him back and if this is okay with Jeff, ask the engineer back and see if he has some other suggestions and maybe some suggestions of people, of contractors who can do that kind of work and just pursue it that way. And, if we spend, the engineer comes and spends a couple of hours, with any luck, we could spend not much more than $1,000 and get some names and maybe some, but if the engineer says, well, I'd like to study this more, then we can think about it. But first step, again, if Jeff is amenable, let's get the engineer in.
I'll try and get hold of him next couple of days.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah,
I agree.
I'm just bringing this stuff up. It's
Yeah.
just
Yeah, it's good.
Yeah, no.
stuff we gotta do.
Yeah.
It's great.
All right, we are looking at investment policy on 10 and stuff.
Purchasing.
I haven't looked at any of this stuff.
Those are just the blanket ones that
Yeah.
VLCT has, where you just fill in
Model, yeah.
your name. I just thought it would be a good starting point
Mhm.
to go over. Maybe even if we chose one to look at and say, I could put it back on the agenda for like either the 10th or the 24th.
And then this is a copy of the current purchasing policy.
Correct.
Oh, this is, okay, I think this, okay.
purchasing policy is the only one that we have. The auditors recommended that we get an investment policy and a fraud
Right,
policy.
there was three, okay.
What, and what are we investing in?
I'm not sure.
Oh, the investment, what, Proudy and.
Oh,
Nikki
the,
just
so the
heard.
investment committee for,
Because I believe, you weren't there, but I believe at last selectmen's meeting. That I think I said that, they should be the ones to write up the.
So you just had two, right?
investment
Guidelines.
policy.
We have
Because
fraud.
that,
Three,
That-
so
that
there's
isn't
the
town
VLCT
money.
model and then there's
The
a
town
purchasing
isn't-
policy.
Oh, no.
we're
here
not
it is,
allowed
here
to
it is.
invest.
And there's the
There's
investment
anything
policy
on the-
guide,
There's the-
and then there's
Yeah.
a third for
Um,
fraud prevention.
You got
It's
the
But you should
investment,
have,
you got the,
oh, you know what
the
it is?
funds that
The,
the
they're
school
attached.
has and stuff like
So
that.
the other, the current one, oh no, wait,
you don't have this one? That says,
A
this is the
copy.
model purchasing policy?
a copy of
I
the,
don't have the model purchasing policy.
Okay, that's what you need, yeah.
yeah,
Did you
and
sign
at
it?
the end is our, the purchasing policy,
There's our current one. right?
yeah, with the bid, template, yeah.
Have that one.
and then this is the investment policy for the town hall, so this is that one, the investment policy for the
Okay.
town hall, so
Okay.
just different from.
So how
Oh,
about
I
we,
didn't have that.
let's just bear down on the purchasing policy for next meeting,
Okay,
see where we stand.
Give you my thoughts on the purchasing policy. And on bidding policy, we spend way more than I think we should on advertising for employment and bids, and we don't get anything. And inflation has hit so hard that, you know, the $10,000 limit is nothing. So I was thinking along the lines of, we go, or we could go out and just ask somebody for a price up to 15. And then as far as bidding, she could put it on the, town
Website,
website, and then also call 3 to 5 contractors and keep a record of
Phone call.
rather than.
We, this past year, just advertising for, you know, the road crew and for painting. We've just had a lot of advertising expenses. It's very, very expensive to run a print ad
Print ad, yeah.
for something. Especially for the road crew, someone that we may stick up a flyer somewhere, that they're gonna see that, you know?
So does this, you know, when we were looking for, is there some state, website that you can put ads out for
Yes.
looking for
We
bids?
advertised with VLCT and then,
Something else,
Yeah.
okay, so there are some online,
Isn't it-
yes,
because
it's a state, it's not like a
Oh.
Indeed or anything.
I'm not sure that
Do
print
we do online
ads.
like Indeed and stuff?
you know, is
We
there like,
haven't
print ads
Is-
are
is
not cutting
there
it
a-
anymore.
Is that
No,
expensive?
nobody
Is there
looks
like
at
a
the,
regulation?
who gets a
Yeah,
Nobody
newspaper
ever in the
anymore.
paper looking for help wanted.
Yeah,
We
no.
had gotten like a. I can look into it, there was like a $25 off Indeed
Okay.
subscription thing, but I
I
never.
just think that's where everyone's going now, right? I mean,
Is online.
I have no idea.
Yeah, well, that's why I'm
Yeah.
bringing this all
I
up.
agree.
I'm not a online person, but I
Yeah.
know that the change is here.
so all my nieces and nephews are looking for.
So when we're thinking about this policy, once we throw it together, we'll have to have it reviewed by you know, or somebody to make sure we're not busting some rules.
Yep.
Mhm.
Okay,
Okay,
so
so-
next time we're looking at
Purchasing,
purchasing,
just purchasing.
okay,
And I'll read that.
Yeah, and I would see any 15 and maybe 3 to 20, but I mean that.
Well, I just threw out a
Yeah,
number.
exactly.
Yeah. But
That
yeah,
could be,
10 is pretty low these
Some,
days.
some people say, oh, I guess, Kim, are you there, Kim?
no, I think
No.
she's gone.
She's
Uh,
on there, but she's.
but somebody said that they thought that was high, but
There she is.
Kim, did our auditors or did anyone say that they thought that our $10,000 floor for not seeking bids in our purchasing policy was too high or out of the norm or too low? Do you have any?
Purchasing for the LEMP a couple of weeks ago, they said that ours was high, they had thought. The state, but
Yeah,
They thought that 10,000 was high?
no, we had done 25, I think,
Oh, okay.
that's what we did for the LEM,
yeah,
but that's. I don't know that
Okay.
anyone has said.
no worries, we can think about it and,
I mean, it's a strange world out there, and if you have a emergency. Well, I'll give you an example. Up on what they call Shaw Knoll. Beaver Dam let go, you were here for that.
yeah,
And it took out an arch culvert up there.
Mhm.
And we scrambled, cause we got, I think, 3 days time to do it. But we went out and hired a contractor. He sent one of his trucks, I don't know where, but they found the culvert, come back, and we had the thing in place within the 3-day limit before we had to do a ton of paperwork and come out to 48,000, I think.
yeah. And meantime, at the end of
So you
Shaw Knoll
couldn't get
Road
bids for that.
were 2 Weston houses and 1 Landgrove house that were completely cut off from fire and emergency services.
Mhm.
Because the Shaw Knoll is a dead end. It used to go all the way through, but there's no access anymore.
Mm.
So it was, I mean, we were on our toes for that.
Sure.
But,
That
if you
just
have
shows
the
you
freedom,
cost.
we just got people in there and
You had to do
got
it.
it done,
Just got it
and
done,
it was great.
So there's a provision in the purchasing policy for emergencies.
Yeah,
There isn't, so we
There must
should
be.
have, technically, we should have gotten 3 bids for that, but we didn't have time to get 3 bids.
Right, because if we time to get 3 bids for it, then we'd had this much paperwork for the state.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
So that's
in the
perhaps a
meantime, no
provision,
emergency service for any of those houses.
right? So perhaps that's a provision we should put into our
Yeah.
purchasing policy.
I'm just telling you what
Yeah.
we've done.
Yeah,
It's there, I'm looking,
Is it there?
I don't
Okay.
know, I have to read it
Yeah,
in more
I'm-
detail. Emergency purchases, the select board may award contracts and purchase for the purpose of program, yeah,
If
something
the
in
delay
there,
in such repair and maintenance would endanger
Yep,
persons or so
yep.
it's in
Yeah,
there.
we're
yeah, and
covered.
no limit.
We're
Yeah,
covered,
right,
Yeah.
okay.
that's good.
But that's just so much stuff goes on.
Yeah,
So if nobody else has more questions on that.
Kim, do you have something?
Only that the auditor really was pressing for the fraud policy. It's a simple policy that I don't think would take too much time, to have you review.
I should we do that for
Okay.
next meeting too. No?
Oh, boy, I'm pretty comfortable. I mean, let's add it in.
Yeah, that's it.
I- I'm guessing if we read this, we're not gonna hate it and we ought to just adopt it and we.
right
just-
now, you mean?
No, not right now, but
Oh, you sure?
next week,
Do we currently have one? I'm sorry.
Yeah.
No.
Oh, but no, that's the
No,
only one. we don't.
so it's just, all we have here is the model, right?
yeah. And
Okay.
and I would think that it's highly likely that after having read this thing, we just adopt it. And if we decide we think we need to take a second look at it, we can modify it or amend it.
The verbiage
later.
is similar
Okay.
between the model that we have and the actual policy that we have for the other 2.
Okay, so,
We
They're like
only
the-
have a purchasing policy,
Oh.
the other 2. are
No, the fraud.
No, not, yeah, I know the fraud, but the investment policy,
would also be brand new
it
to the
would be
town of
brand new
Weston.
to the town of
Yeah.
Weston, okay.
But we're only talking, but Kim, you're just talking about the fraud, right?
Correct. That was
Okay.
super important to them.
so next meeting,
Okay.
fraud and purchasing, right?
Yes,
Okay,
Got it.
I can forecast what's gonna happen to you.
Let's hear it.
They are gonna, between the state and auditors and everything, you're gonna fill up with so many policies that in the future, you're gonna be reviewing a couple policies at every meeting. So that's basically what we do at the credit union is. They may only change a word or two or say this or that, but they have to be reviewed.
Mhm.
Yeah, well,
I'll be after I'm long gone.
So Kim, since we were talking about the auditors there, did you happen to, last time we were talking about the library fund, the Wilder Memorial Fund that they want moved? Did you happen to, you were gonna
think
get
I-
in touch?
I talked to Deb briefly about it, and so I think we left it that I would get a hold of the auditor and she and I would schedule a call with that person.
Good, thank you.
It's
Okay,
in progress.
okay, good, thank you.
Yep, you're welcome.
I don't have a copy of the pay orders.
What's that right?
Right here.
This
That's payroll wages on this side.
payroll.
And then the
Okay.
next page is the accounts
So
payable.
if that's where we are, I'm gonna, by God, move approval of check warrant, payroll check warrant report number 10 for $9,897.68.
A second.
Questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Yeah, I was looking for the little yellow.
I ran out, sorry.
God,
Where's my
Kim.
yellow thing, Kim?
Yeah.
I know, I got you trained.
Pictures of habit.
Habits.
Yeah, and just to get things moving, I'll move approval of the accounts payable check warrant report number 10, in the amount of $35,346.57.
Questions on it?
There's the fire hoses. The audit fee.
What is Frank Auto send out? Oh, those are, oh, okay, got it. Never mind. What is VMERS DB payroll transfer?
Something to do with taxes.
No, that's the retirement fund for the road crew.
Okay.
Sorry.
Retirement fund for what?
Road crew.
Oh,
It's all taxes.
We got the US next. I was wondering that 2 weeks ago.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, I'm sorry.
thank you, sorry. Just looking down when you pass it to me.
That, right?
Sure, you, sir.
Old business, Shauna sent a letter back to the plane owner for the project trying to be up. Jeff says that, the stamp shop, one of them has an Onyx on his phone and they can run the boundaries. Find out exactly where the boundaries are, so they'll be on the right property.
That is a great little app, by the way.
It's called Onyx.
On X, yeah.
Oh, yeah,
I
that's
have it.
fantastic.
I was like, what is
And
that?
it is, hold on,
Who's the boundaries? It's great as a realtor.
yeah,
I would be lost without it.
it
You're
was
showing
developed for
land.
hunters.
Yep.
But,
X Hunt, right? Isn't it?
you go anywhere. And, check it out. It's got the property lines and the owners,
Oh, wow.
Their
and you
name.
can
Oh,
just,
I have it.
and I think it's a free app.
Yeah, but in order to be, I don't know, I found in order to really use it, you gotta pay like the $25 upgrade or something in order to get a little better.
But
But is
I-
it worth it? Oh my gosh.
Yeah, I use it all the time.
Yeah. Oh, it's phenomenal.
Oh, interesting.
It's a great little app.
I'm gonna have to download that.
Yeah,
What's it called?
On
X. Hunt. Okay. Here's my property.
yeah, there you
go, right?
are.
Yeah. No, I mean, that's how when I
It's
did it
got
too,
the
I was
pond and
walking around my
everything.
property like, oh, it's working. And it's really
And
accurate.
it starts out where you are. So, and, you know, so you can
Where is it?
walk around. This might, Denny, this might get you into the, you might have to upgrade your flip phone.
Yeah, this is worth it.
He'll never,
This
he'll
is
never
worth it.
upgrade his flip phone.
But it's free,
It is-
right? It's free?
He will be with.
I'm
the
just-
flip
Well,
phone
yes, the
to
initial
the end
is
of his
free,
days.
but I found that in order to work really well and be able to like store, you know, like I want to store things. If I'm going back to show a piece of land a couple of times and I paid $25 for some kind of a
Oh, yeah.
basic upgrade,
Oh, yeah.
but it's worth it.
Okay, great.
But, yeah, it's good unit to have. Anybody got any?
You wanna do the honor? Do you want me to move it?
Adjourn, okay.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
So we said that we get.
I was actually gonna ask about that.
Yeah, I haven't gone.
I have.